Good morning, friends. Thanks for being here this morning. Welcome to Journey Home Meditation's morning sit. We're coming to you from the Beside Meditation Hall and Community Healing Center in Cave Junction, Oregon. And I'm Michael. We'll be going through some shared breathing practice, a little contemplation, and maybe get to some poetry today. We'll see. Just taking our time this morning. Um, yeah, just taking our time. I am very happy to be here today. So maybe we'll just begin with a few breaths. Just taking these few moments any time in our day, any time at all, really, um, to come back to our breath, to come back into our own bodies, and to recollect that we are in this body and in this moment. It may sound unnecessary or silly to some people, but to those of us who spend a lot of our lives dissociating from our bodies, the ability to step back into some sort of agency and a sense of belonging and place inside of our body is kind of a big deal. So, learning this practice of using one of the most basic and simple things in life, just using our breath to bring us into a more embodied place can be honestly quite revolutionary. It can change a lot of the ways in which we relate to ourselves, which of course is going to change the way we relate to others and the world around us. So just take a few moments to let your body and your mind settle together. And bring that attention of yours to the breath. What it is to breathe in and to breathe out, what it is to feel the air becoming breath as it moves into your body, to feel your body expand and contract, to feel even the coldness on the tip of your nose as you breathe in and the warmth as you breathe out. All of these are just small ways in. Breathing in through the nose to the bottom of the belly, allowing the belly and the entire abdomen to rise and fall, relaxing your chest, relaxing your shoulders. We don't need to breathe all of the air at once, just gentle breath. And see if you can begin to follow that breath into the body and through the body, finding all of the little places where you may be holding emotion or a sensation that wants to be seen and to be heard this morning. Let's have a few breaths together. Breathing in and out. In and out. And in allow your body and your mind to find its place together. It's really amazing sometimes how when we come into that landscape of our body, how much our mind might want to wander away from sensation. And when we can have that focused practice of gently breathing and following that breath, it's almost like your mind can become a feather that's just gently drifting into place. You just see this feather of your body and your mind just floating down into the settling. And if you can take your time, if you can set aside your worries or concerns about anything other than being in this place that's settling in, it can really open you into just feeling okay. Just feeling okay in this moment. Not that you necessarily weren't feeling okay before. Maybe not everybody walks around feeling bad, you know. In fact, I think that most of my day, I feel pretty great. Sometimes it's my thinking that's not so great. Sometimes I think poorly. Uh, but even that is greatly diminished in its power and its scope with this daily practice. And I think that that's due in no small part to the ability to understand the equanimity of what it is that we are experiencing when you can just come to the breath. But I don't know where the time goes when that occurs. It's occurring to me now how easy it is to feel at home in my body some days. That's a big deal. And I'm not making promises that this practice will do that for you, but I don't see how it doesn't have the possibility. I think it's very possible, in fact, probable, that when we can adopt into our bodies and care for and tend to just belonging. We hear a lot about loving ourselves. And I was at a meeting recently, and a woman shared that she's always being told to love herself, and it makes her feel even more like a failure because she doesn't have any concept of what that could look like or how to begin to do that. And so she just feels even more isolated and alone because everybody's telling her you have to love yourself. And so there's the assumption there, well, these people all love themselves and I just can't seem to get it. So yeah, I'm broken. I'm done. And there was a lot of sadness in that share, and there was a lot of suffering in that person in that moment. There was a realization that she'd had in her life. She was a middle aged person. She had never experienced the ability to adore herself or to even be welcoming and accepting of herself. And it had me thinking, and I shared with her, telling someone who's never known what it could look like to love themselves to simply love themselves is like telling a drowning person to learn to swim. We cannot expect ourselves to be able to just step in fully to these capacities for deep compassion and understanding and love and kindness towards ourselves if we've never had it modeled and we don't have that safety of community, of sangha, of congregation to help us to maintain that. This is built into our species, I think, then we come together to co regulate. In fact, the more we learn about things like the human heart, the more we begin to understand that our utilitarian view of our bodies is really, really fallible, if not just completely off base. That the human heart is not a pump, the way that we have envisioned our heart to be this workhorse of the body that pushes the blood through the system. I've spoken on this many times on this morning program, but I want to share about it again because I think it's really vital to understand this. That the human heart, um, we are starting to understand more, is not so much a utilitarian pump to push blood. In fact, it probably wouldn't even be sufficient if that were its job. Um, the way the blood moves through the body, we're understanding, is a little different than just the pump moving it through our veins and arteries. Now, what the human heart does do that we can record and understand now is help to create an electromagnetic force that that electricity moves through our body, and that this is most likely how the blood is moving through the body, is through this pulsating body of life, not just the pulsing of a heart. And that electricity that's being formed, is, just like all electricity, is running on frequencies. And that when our two hearts can connect, or our multiple hearts can connect in space, we link and sync into a frequency. We can lock into one another's heart. And this can be a huge aspect for our regulation of our central nervous system. One of my favorite studies I've ever read is a study, and it's been many years since I read it, so I'm a little foggy on some of the exact details, but it was the study that was done on a choir. A choir of people. I don't know the number and I don't know the location. But I can tell you what they did was these scientists, these researchers came in and they put heart monitors and breath monitors on all of the members of this choir. And so they were monitoring each individual as they were mingling about and getting ready to start. And everybody's heart rates were different, different body types, different people. We have different heart rates, resting heart rates, and we have different breathing patterns. And our bodies are uh, so vastly different in their need and their capacity that we're all going to be on these different levels at any given moment. And then they started to sing. And as the choir sang, you can watch all of the numbers and all of the data start to coalesce, and it becomes one. Almost invariably, every heart linked to one another. Almost invariably in this study, the breathing and the pulses of the body begin to sync with one another. And this is why we sing. And this is why we gather. And this is why I don't think it's even appropriate to expect any of us to do this alone. And I believe in my heart that when we can take our time coming into safety in our own bodies, we can begin to open to others. And it's that co-regulation. That might just be the ticket. It might just be the place where we understand not our codependence, but our interdependence. We understand the necessity of belonging. And when we can understand that it's not a failure of ours as an individual to love ourselves or to regulate ourselves or to sustain only ourselves, it's not our failure to not be able to find contentment or happiness in that way of life. We can stop pretending that we're all right because we can understand deeply that we're not messed up. We're not broken. That's something that I say often, is if I want to stop pretending that I'm okay, I have to stop believing that I'm fucked up. because it's my belief that I'm fucked up or that I'm broken or that I'm messed up that is fueling my sense that I need to pretend to be all right. And this is all part of that fear that because I can't do it on my own, I must not be made for happiness. And that goes right into that next line of, well, if I'm this messed up, then I'll never be happy. And I would be happy once I had my healing. And there's a $1 billion industry out there. Billions and billions of dollars are made from the notion that happiness is on the other side of my healing. But it's not. Take your time, breathe into your body, find the thing that makes you feel joy. You're allowed to do that. And it just so happens that when we can open ourselves to the notion that we might just need the support of others in our lives to feel regulated, then we might just be on to understanding that we are here for a reason. Let's have some silent breaths together today. I'm wondering if we should just leave it at this morning, feeling very resolved. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to get into a poem today or any further contemplation, just taking our time. You know, it's time is a burden to the living and it's God to the dying. We always seem to function on this notion that we don't have enough of it. This is taking too much of my time, or this is a waste of my time. And we are so flagrantly dismissive or resentful of time. We shame our bodies for growing through time and aging. We live in our minds in the past to a better time. We use nostalgia to forget that pain has always been here. We use nostalgia to forget that growth comes through experience. So we have this ill founded relationship with time, I think, for the most part. But then when we are dying, when we are in those places that we know what is coming, time is God. Time is that thing that decides what you get. It's that grace that you receive each moment of it. So there's a lot to be learned from dying people. There's a lot to be learned about what is truly important. There's a lot to be learned from where we might be watching the shadows on the cave a little too closely and missing the light behind them. I think that's the thing that I am reminded of daily is just how grateful I am to be able to be with dying people without turning away and to be it with my own dying body and to say, hey, I'm just here to be in love. I forget that less now. I used to forget that a lot. And I'm just grateful that that means that I can be with anyone who is in front of me and find a way to be in love. And the last thing that I can think that I'd ever want to do is restrain that, to hold off on that, thinking that I haven't earned it, that I have to earn love, or that I have to earn my ability to feel love, give love. So I'm not going to wait on that any longer. Just going to understand that there is no such thing as healed. There's only the breath, the receiving and the letting go. That's it. Just the receiving and the letting go. And we're doing that all day. We're doing that all the time. We have the wisdom, we have the capacity, we have the ability in any moment to just take a few breaths. Thanks for being here, taking those breaths with me. I do apologize if you were looking forward to a poem today and we did not get to one. You know what? I'm going to share the poem I wrote this morning. Why not? Sometimes a surprising thing. When the moon shows herself and the shape of the bottom of her breast seems like it was made for your hand. Oh, to kiss the moon would be a surprise indeed and nothing lasting. That's not how the moon loves, in permanence or forevers. It is the forgetting and the remembering, and the waiting and the leaving. Sometimes, though, a surprising thing happens. and you cast all of your focus like faith or fear upon the glint of hello, a peeking child in us all seeking something inside, something in a surprise, the way a thing arrives, and we insist when it goes, too soon, too soon. But what do we know? Take refuge in the Buddha, refuge in the Dharma, and refuge in the Sangha. Thanks so much for being here today. I would really love to see some engagement with these morning sits. I love making the offering freely, um, but I would be nourished to have your voice. So leave a comment, even a little like. I know it doesn't seem like it's something that's important, but it is. It does help more people to be able to uh, be involved with this. It's just the way that these algorithms work, it's just the way that this is set up. So why not engage with purpose? I would love to hear your voice, hear your thoughts, and the ways in which you have learned how to be happy and in love, even in your greatest pains and sicknesses, how you have come to find even just a moment now and then where you adore yourself. That will be helpful. It will be helpful to someone. I promise you. Thanks for being here. Hari Om.